Hello, and welcome to another episode of Funky Marketing Podcast, Funky B2B Marketing Podcast. Today, my guest is somebody who brings, I would say, a refreshing twist to B2B marketing. Tim Davidson, he's a VP of Marketing and founder of his own company, B2B Riz. Has over, I think, a decade of experience in digital marketing, specialized in account-based marketing and LinkedIn ads. And what makes him different is, he's always bring a funky twist, as I would say, to the content, to videos, and all kind of stuff. So we're going to dig into that. But Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. A podcast or a company that starts with funky marketing aligns very well with me, or at least I like to align with it. This is. I'm excited.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when I started the company, some guys from the UK was looking only at the funk. I say, oh, that's garbage. Why do you call your company like that? But since then, nobody else mentioned it.
The names are. Look, my company name is B2B Riz. It's not the best name either. Or I'm not saying yours isn't great, but names don't really matter. Google, like what names were those? They don't really matter if you think about it.
Exactly. So let's open with something interesting. I saw that you're planning to live 147 years old. So I'm kind of curious. Do you think B2B marketing will still be boring when you hit 100, or will kind of cross the mark?
Yeah, we'll see. It's a lot can happen. I'm 33 now, so a lot can happen in 100 years. Marketing is gonna be wildly different. Just think about the last 10 years. So it's really hard to say. I would say that the reason I say that, it's obviously a pipe dream. I'm hoping science can get there. But the truth is, I don't think I want to stay in marketing forever. And so I have a lot of interests, which can get me in trouble sometimes, for sure. I'm sure many others do too. But I want to live longer just so I can fulfill all those dreams or interests, I guess. And it's just, problem is there's so many. But to your question, probably just in a completely different format.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, I'm a couple of years older than you, 40 now. And the thing I'm doing, I'm kind of finding time in my schedule to read comics, to ride my bicycle, to do other things outside of it, and focus on what can I build next.
Yeah.
So I guess, we're kind of aligned. I'm just a couple of years ahead when it comes to the years, not anything else. But
what are you building next?
To be honest, I'm thinking about, now Funky Marketing is like a consultancy firm. So I'm thinking kind of taking it to the next level. And it's not only me, then there is other people, but let's see how it goes in the next couple of months. The last thing that I built was the business network community here in local, around 500, 600 people. Oh. So that was kind of nice. And it came out of nowhere. It started offline and then it moved online, which is kind of interesting in today's day and age.
That's awesome. I'm excited to see that. That's great.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. First, I thought it's only because it's post-COVID and people kind of missed mingling and those kind of things. But then they kept coming every week, like, I don't know, 150, 200 people at each event. Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks.
That's super, super impressive, by the way. That's extremely impressive. I can't get 5 people to play a sport around here. That's super impressive.
Yeah, I don't know what's the deal. We kind of don't promote it, but it's like 3 of us and we have kind of like personal brands. People know us. So I guess that's one of the things I ask people, said, it's your charisma, the way you're guiding this. So I'm kind of, okay, I'll go with that.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thanks. Okay, so one more interesting question for the beginning. If aliens landed tomorrow and wanted to understand B2B marketing, how would you explain it to them? And let's hear something ridiculous.
I mean, that's funny. The true answer is probably sales at scale, but then I have to explain sales to them, which is basically yeah, it's a tough one. I'd probably say don't worry about marketing. You don't need to worry about that. Marketing's that's a very funny question. I'd probably say it's sales at scales, and then sales is, you know, the trade-off of one thing for another. But I'd have to do it in alien speak, I'd assume.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, the question came to my mind because I was doing a presentation. I was using David Bowie as an example of somebody who was counter influencer, right? And brought other things amongst all, like everybody were afraid of the aliens. And he came and said aliens, didn't want to come to the earth, but they used the radio to communicate to the youth through that, and then, let the children boogie, right? So kind of interesting.
It is interesting. I like that.
Perfect. Okay, so let's move to some, let's call it more serious stuff. So what's a risk you took in a B2B campaign that others might have advice against, but that pay off, surprisingly? Because I think a lot of people don't risk or don't do things which are out of the, common norms.
Yeah. So this is one early on when I worked at an agency, the company I worked at before I started my own business. This was actually in 2020. And like, it wasn't just me. There's a number of people that I worked with on this, but offering, and it's pretty normal now, but a lot of people hate on it, was offering gift cards for meetings. And yes, obviously, you get a bunch of meetings, but it was very surprising to see how many turned into revenue after like 6 months, because then you just had like a flywheel effect. But that was one of those things where, even me, Mr. Skeptical, we were talking about it and I was like, oh, it's not going to work. It's going to be terrible. Like this just seems scammy. And we tested it. We got a bunch of good meetings when they were just listening to those sales calls. They were great meetings. They were actually good calls. And then obviously over time you kind of innovate on the whole process. And then it turned into like a serious revenue machine for a few years before everyone started doing it. And it was just one of those campaigns that I did not expect to do very well, just because of whatever moral reasons or just my assumption of what would happen. But it was very, very crazy. I mean, there was, after, I think it was like 2.5 years in, from $350,000 in gift cards and ad spend, we turned like 17 million in revenue. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was really, really crazy.
Impressive. And I love that, now when I ask you, it got me thinking, what are the things that I'm seeing, and that I did. And one thing was kind of interesting, maybe what I didn't do, because when I came to this Balkan Serbia market, I was first working with the US and Canadian market. And when I came here, like I got this mindset, no stock photos, no those kind of things. It's the real people. Everything is moving towards that direction. But I found out, and we had a client, which is kind of a software accounting company, and they were using all men in suits, like accountants, right, everywhere. And there were, I don't know, like 500 signups for a webinar or Facebook. Facebook was at the time the main platform. 1,500 people liking. It was buzzing all around. So the CEO told me, why don't you change it? We have that freedom to test things out. So I added the real people from the company, really nice photos, all those things. Like nobody reacted, like 5 likes, nobody subscribed to the webinar, nothing. Then I switched back to men in the suits, like the engagement was there again. So I figured out, okay, maybe people in Serbia just, look at accountants as people in suits. And then basically we used, I think, 80% of the photos from Google, from the internet of people in suits in a boat, on a mountain, on a ladders, whatever it is. We gave it the context, but that was what people were reacting to, and they were converting through it.
That's really interesting, and exactly what I would think the same way you thought, like that.
Exactly.
So interesting.
Exactly. I mean, Slovenia market, which is close country nearby, was also different. What worked there was the animation with piglets, right? The money and the piglets and those kind of things. Here, people would just say, "Oh, fuck off."
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that dynamic, especially over in Europe and Asia, the different countries being so close, like it's a completely different game. The localization is so interesting.
Definitely. So let's kind of move to the platforms, right? You are active on different platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok, and now I guess the next one is probably YouTube, right? So maybe kind of tell me, what are you seeing on those platforms, how they are different, and what are you doing differently?
Yeah, I mean they're completely different from my point of view, just from the not the content, but I mean I'm to be honest, I'm struggling with YouTube and TikTok. It's just really hard for me. I could spend a lot more time on LinkedIn and see much greater ROI there than the other platforms. Like YouTube, I've tried YouTube Shorts, but I think the long-term game is going to be those longer videos. So I mean that's a distinct change, right? Like the long form kind of videos of like 10-minute long type of videos on LinkedIn. If I post a 10-minute video, it could do well. It's just not the platform for that. It's more, I found a good sweet spot in there on that 2 to 3 minute time range. And unfortunately I can't just take those and use them for YouTube. So there's a lot more time investment and longer term play on YouTube, and I'm struggling with that, to be honest. Like I'm really struggling with that because I just don't have the time to do that, or I'm not prioritizing that, even though it's something I really want to do. TikTok, I can take the same videos from LinkedIn, but just not getting the kind of view percentages and reach that I would on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's, especially in the last 3 months, the reach has just gone crazy, especially for videos and things like that. So if you, right now, I'm really putting all my eggs in the basket of LinkedIn, even though I think that could be hurtful long term. I think, but to add to that, one thing I'm kind of struggling with is I just don't like the comments on the other platforms. Like I can put the same video on TikTok or in Instagram, on YouTube versus LinkedIn, and I'll get way different comment threads, and it's not as fun that way.
I totally agree, and I'm not even sure like who are the people actually consuming the content on TikTok, for example. I have no idea who are those people liking. Somebody comments, usually when they comment, I see that those are the people who are kind of like, I know them or kind of in the industry, but what I do from my perspective, as I record the podcast, right? So I have tons of content. I cannot post everything on LinkedIn, right? I can maybe add one from the podcast or something like that, but on TikTok and on YouTube, I can distribute them because I use Opus Pro to kind of create the shorts from it, and I can just repost 1 to 3 videos per day. Even that's how much content I have. But and I only care about the consumption. Right, on YouTube, it's, as you said, it's much harder. Sometimes it works for 2 weeks, then it doesn't work anything, and those are the same videos. But on TikTok, it kind of grew from 300 views to now 800 average. So I just want people to consume it. And I see, okay, I don't know who are those people, but 800 people are basically watching every video. So kind of, that's okay. I'm going with that, and it's slowly growing, right? I don't care about anything else at the moment. We'll see when the time comes. If it comes, it will grow, but
That's impressive. Was there anything that you did differently for that 300 to 800 views average, or is it just more of the consistency?
I'm just changing maybe the time when I'm posting. I don't think anything much, but these days I don't even know when I'm posting. I just want people from outside of Balkans or Serbia to consume it, so it's in the afternoon or the evening, and that's that basically.
That's awesome. That's
Kind of interesting, and I guess videos are getting better and better, right? Because like I have tons of content from before when the camera wasn't like this, and the audio and all those things.
That's awesome. I mean, that's actually I would say for a B2B content, that's very impressive for YouTube. I feel like I've talked to a lot of people in the B2B space, and it's just like it's tough. You need broader talking points because it's just a broader. It's not like LinkedIn, right, where it's all business. It's it's a definitely different thing. So that's, I mean, 800 views average is very impressive to me. Like that's really, really cool. I'm gonna have to check that out because now I gotta learn. Like it's something I keep kicking myself to do, but I just can't see that traction. If I had that traction, I feel like I would keep going. It's just I need to figure out how to get that traction or put the time in to get to that traction.
Yeah, but let's mention one of the things. I think one of the biggest struggles that everybody in the tech space will have and are having is the entertainment moment, right? We can all record a lot of these kind of videos, very educational videos, but entertainment is missing. Now you found a way to get the crack into the entertainment on LinkedIn and on some other platforms, right? But guide me kind of through the process. Basically, you're trying to do something while you are talking about business.
Yeah, it kind of. I think a lot of if I really think about my videos over time, a lot of it has come just from like consumer ideas where I would just be scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or whatever it was, and I would just notice what I would actually consume. And I'm very I'm quick to move past a video if I don't like it or if I'm not like just sitting there and watching it. But I'm also someone that's very addictive. Like if I see some videos I like, and I'll just go down the rabbit hole on that. And so I was finding myself listening to people tell a story and doing something. And so I was like, all right, I can kind of, how can I spin that in my own thing? And then you just kind of test it on LinkedIn, right? You test, I've done like fruit cutting. I've tried unboxing. I've tried the talking head stuff where I just sit there and talk and maybe do a few cuts. And you just see what people resonate with. And the ones where I'm doing something and talking about something just do well. They just do. I saw the traction there, and I was just like, all right. And selfishly, I can also get some stuff done at the same time, which is quite nice.
Yeah, that's actually nice. I was thinking about you and those videos yesterday when I was cleaning the toilet, right? So I was like, that should be something nobody talks about it. It's not fancy, as fancy marketers actually need to do somehow stuff around the house.
Yeah, people can relate with it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily toilets, but definitely those kind of things. So let's make kind of a connection to the ABM. So tell me, how do you see or do you connect those things like the creator space, which is really buzzing on LinkedIn and it's going on other platforms as well. And on the other hand, we have companies which know exactly who they are targeting and are moving to that space, account-based marketing. So is there a relationship between those two? Do you connect them and how do you see it?
Of like ABM, you're saying, so connecting ABM and the creator space?
Mm-hmm.
So there is, it's hard to say that if you start like an influencer creator program at your company and they post on LinkedIn and TikTok or wherever that is, it's hard to say that that's ABM because you can't control who you're targeting, right? You can't control who that person's getting in front of organically. Their audience, like you'll know it's B2B marketers or B2B sales or finance folks. You can know that, but it's hard to say that it's ABM just because it's not going to stay within a certain list of accounts that you're trying to target, right? Or get in front of. So I would bucket that part more in like the demand gen, brand awareness type of play. I do see where and I've done this where you can use it in your ABM play in the sense of from the advertising side. So like I said, someone can post, you're not saying you can't get in front of certain people, their audience, but you can run that as an ad to those specific accounts. And so if it's talking about very generally about what your product does or your solution, you can use that in your targeting with LinkedIn ads or other platforms where it's possible to get in front of those certain accounts. The other way you can also use them as a subject matter expert, right? You can, even if whether they post or not, you can use them in your content for the ABM side of it. So again, back to the ad side, like whether it's like a webinar or you use them in like an actual specific ad, not just like them posting on LinkedIn or something, but an actual ad as like the actor essentially or actress. I do see a big play there because if they are known in the space, that content's going to resonate with those target accounts. The other side of it, where I've seen this is very, very unique and not a lot of people do this, is I've seen a couple times where they use an influencer or they use a creator and they'll call out a specific account. And so that could almost be an ABM play from that sense. But again, it's just like one part of all of it. And if you're using it for the targeting, if you're using it as a very specific play to get in front of these accounts, you could use it for ABM. But I can see both sides, and there's definitely a play there is if you use them as a subject matter expert for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I ask you that because I see more and more platforms that are going towards creators. And especially now, I don't know if it's kickoff or should be in short amount of time, you can target specific videos, no matter if it's yours or do you have a permission on YouTube. So through Google Ads, and basically creators are also getting a boost through that function.
On Google Ads, you're saying?
Yep. You can target specific YouTube videos.
On YouTube, yes, I gotcha. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting when it kicks off. So let's continue talking about LinkedIn ads. So I think, I don't know why, but still a lot of people think when it comes to the LinkedIn ads, if not, we are not a corporation, a bigger company, how can we, use the ads? What can we do with them? So tell me a little bit, what are you doing in that space?
Yeah, so for LinkedIn ads, I call it ABM with LinkedIn ads, but it's just more of a broader way of ABM. People, some people say, ABM's one-to-one or one-to-few and very, your target account list can't be more than 100 accounts or 500 accounts. I think of it a little different in the sense of it's just more of a targeted approach to marketing, but you're still targeting specific accounts. But I think of it like more of a TAM or total addressable market list, where it's a larger account list. So you can kind of have that scale, but it's still very specific to the accounts that you could only work with. So like you're not targeting, companies that sales would hate to talk to, which is a lot of demand gen or, brand awareness, where you're just targeting like a certain industry or something like that, and employee sizes. So for LinkedIn ads, I work mostly with B2B SaaS companies. Sizes range, and it's obviously a different approach for companies that are 10,000 plus employees to then companies that are 50 employees. But I do see there's a play for LinkedIn ads for most size companies if your audience is there. It just depends on how much you should spend, how much effort you should put into it, or because if your contract value is $7 a month, it's not going to be worth it because LinkedIn ads is quite expensive in comparison to other platforms. But the employee size is probably less important because there's definitely companies that are 10 employees, high ACV, where LinkedIn ads would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But tell me, How do you see the role in creativity in both ABM, LinkedIn ads, and everything that you do? Because I have this theory, and I think a lot of B2B companies don't kind of think that way. They see creativity only as, visuals, only as branding, logo, that those kind of plays, and they think of creativity as a B2C play. Right, because it's direct to consumer and it's easy to be creative and to come up with a lot of stuff over there. So I kind of want to get your thinking about creativity in B2B and the things that you do.
It's super important because at the end of the day, what it does is it stops people from scrolling. That's part of the battle. That's half the battle, right? You're just stopping people in the feed to actually see your message and in your copy and in everything that you're trying to display out there. The other part of it is it builds brand, right? Like if you see this on LinkedIn all the time, someone takes a screenshot of an ad or someone like gives kudos to an ad or copy because it's different, it sticks out. In creativity, that doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be humor. It could be just different. Like that's what really matters. Just the difference, being different than what everyone else is doing. So that kind of builds brand while you're running those ads, and that could be conversion ads, that could be brand awareness ads. The creativity does stick out. I actually don't think all your ads should be super creative. Mm-hmm. I think you can have very straightforward, this is what we do, this is who we're for, who we're not for, and here's the call to action. Like that stuff still works depending on what you're trying to do. But you should have both because, again, it stops the scroll. It gets people to understand who your brand is. That could be that first touch point. And then it could also get them to, so when they see another ad, oh, I remember that brand. I like that first ad. Like, what are they talking about here? Like, there's that stuff that's going to help people recognize your brand. If you have creative ads, creative videos, if creativity is in your content and in your targeting, or not your targeting, your LinkedIn ads strategy and ABM. I also would say that it's, so there's two sides of ads, right? There's targeting, which is who you're trying to get in front of, which is very important, but at a certain point, that's easy. Like you set that, you get that set up, that's done. And then everything else, the difference on how you're going to lower cost leads, or you're going to increase conversion rates, or whatever you're trying to do, that's all creative. So that's the different ads, the different things people you're talking to. That's all that, and that's wildly underfunded in B2B, unfortunately.
Yeah, one thing that got me thinking, I was recently working with a company as a consultant, but I didn't do the LinkedIn ads part. Somebody else did, and I got the insights. They did it 3 months awareness, then 3 months engagement, and then it goes to the lead gen part, right? All, let's call it by the book. But when the time comes for them to start with engagement, meaning, they were using even memes, those kind of things to kind of get the attraction to see who is engaging with the ads. The owner said, okay, but it's been 3 months, nothing happened. So it's hard to get to that part if you don't communicate what are you tracking at each point of the campaigns. So just something that came to my mind, and something that I think we should think about, because that will kind of empower us to use creativity in the ads and actually get to the results.
Yeah, and the truth is you need all of it at the same time, right? Because there's no like funnel there's no predictable funnel that you can put people through and then they'll, oh, okay, they engage with this. That means that the next step should be more buyer focused, but also, not demo, call to action. And then they're going to go to that stage. And then from there, we'll hit them with the demo call to action. They'll definitely convert. It's just not how it works, right? You can put a demo call to action to someone that's completely cold and they might get a demo. You can do the opposite. They, a meme, and they'll still go to your website and kind of check you out. And like, oh yeah, actually you need a demo. It's all about timing. It's ads are not, I've tried. You can't force people to buy. You just can't. People will buy when they have a need, they have a want, they have a a contract coming up, or it's time for them for the solution based off of whatever that is. So it's all about timing. So if you're trying to put people in a funnel, you're missing out on the timing part. Maybe they don't need to buy in the next 3 months, but maybe they need to buy this year. And it's just the CEO said, hey, we need a new, or this contract's coming up, or the CFO is saying something. And then the ad hits them at the right time. And then that kind of gets the ball rolling. So what sucks about that is the 3-month thing. We need to look for leading indicators. You need to you can't spend 3 months and get zero anything or any kind of traction. No one's going to let that fly. But you can't think of it like that in those specific buckets, because it's just never going to work.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's not how we consume content, how we live, and how things happen, right? It's not natural.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I see Wojtek is a huge fan. Wojtek Jazowski. I don't know if you know him from LinkedIn, but he's saying hi and confirming everything that we're saying.
Can I respond in this?
No, it needs to go. I think no. Actually, I have no idea. Maybe we can try. Who knows? But okay, so talking about creativity, tell me, how do you mix the online presence that you're building with the offline? Because you go to a conference and you do something not a lot of people do. So maybe you can tell us also what are those things that you are doing to kind of get the attention.
Yeah. So I wasn't able. I had a kid this year, so I wasn't able to go to as many events this year. Not even close. But last year I went to about 15 events. I think it was 14 or 15 events in like a good 3-month stint. And I tried. One thing I was doing is I was doing that kind of like Instagram meme of the guy holding cardboard, and it would say like something about business or something about B2B or something like that, and I would hold it and create content around that in the at the event. Now, yeah, there was people that saw it at the event, but I also the more important part was I was taking videos and pictures and trying to create some especially videos around it for the online part. So I was trying to mix the two together, and it worked really well in terms of like, especially my personal brand, business results, things like that. But the way I try to mix it is, and I've heard, anytime I've talked to people, is because I create videos on LinkedIn, they feel like they know me, just because, my personality's in it. I'm very much the same person. My height look a little different just because of the angles of the videos, but I'm a little bit shorter in person than my videos might show. But I try to bring those together so that we, I think it's great that they are together. So then, like, the offline events are just more fun when I meet people. We can actually just have a conversation, and it's not this like, hey, I'm this person, blah, 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 like, all that. Like, it's just a lot more fun. But, and I think you mentioned this earlier about your communities. I really underestimated the power of in-person kind of meetings and events. And I've worked from home for a long time. Like I'm very homebody, but meeting people in person is just a different feeling. And so when you can bring you can meet all those online friends in the offline events, it's just really, really special from the business standpoint, but even just like the personal standpoint of just meeting people, becoming friends, having great conversations. It's super, super powerful.
Yeah, I've been through the same process as you. As I started building, started the company in like 3 months from that time, the lockdown started. So I kind of building, I was hiring 7 people at one time. Then I decided to go in a different way. But when I started going to the events after like 2 years, I wanted to see how people perceive me. Did it work? What happened? Because I was talking only about B2B marketing. That's the topic, and I kept going. And then it was like, Nemanja from LinkedIn, right? I guess you get the kind of the same thing, like Tim from LinkedIn. I know you from LinkedIn. And what's it's interesting, offline people see, if you are the same person offline as you are online, then they see, but actually he's the real guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's the same as I was following online, but kind of like you get that recognition that you are not just the guy from LinkedIn. You're somebody that they know, they met.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It's a really, really cool feeling that I never had before, LinkedIn at all. And it's just really, it's really special. It really is. It's just, there's some of it's some ego, like that's so cool, like that someone recognized me from LinkedIn. Don't get me wrong. But the other part of it is just like, you just feel comfortable talking to each other right out the bat. Like it's just a really, really cool feeling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think my wife doesn't agree with everything, because like we went to Barcelona, Berlin, even Cyprus. People recognize me in the center of the city. They say, "Hey, Nemanja from," and she's like, "Again, come on, we are on vacation."
Yeah, that's so amazing.
I mean, I guess that goes along with what we do. We are kind of like public people as we create a brand online, on LinkedIn, wherever it is.
In a very small world of B2B. Like I've never gone to, like, at least for me, I've never gone to the gym and someone recognized me that in my hometown, right? It's a smaller city, but I had people see me at the airport and I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, that was really interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think like Serbia is small, so if you are active, no matter if I'm talking in English and not interacting a lot with locals,
yeah,
they see the posts, right, and it goes along.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so there is one thing that I want to ask you when it comes to LinkedIn, and it's always come up as a question from people who are just starting to post consistently, or are there, but they are there until they're looking for jobs. When they have it, clients, whatever it is, they stop for a while. Or there are people who still didn't find the value of LinkedIn, basically because they didn't connect it to the business goals. So what I want to ask you, what are some of the metrics that you are following to see, what I'm working is successful? Because I think you're doing much better than me when it comes to, this doesn't work, I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to focus on what works.
Oh, in terms of like the content that's working versus not?
Yeah. I mean, not only the content, but also like I don't know if you are doing the outreach, communicating inside the inbox and all those stuff.
Gotcha. So I'll give two answers here, because there's me now 3 years later is there's completely different metrics I'm looking at, because now I started my business and now like there's just a different traction that I can see. Mm-hmm. It's easier to understand which content's working. It's easier to see how it's affecting the business, because I haven't updated my CRM ever. I have HubSpot, but I just don't use it. But I can see the inbound because of my content, because it's a one-person business, right? So it's very easy to understand that. So I'll start with that side of it. In terms of like the content, I know it's working. I can just see the comments. What I look at is like the comments. So if I put something out about LinkedIn ads, what are the questions? What are the comments from the people that I would like to talk to? Just general questions like, oh yeah, that's great, but like, what about this, or whatever that is. Those are the things I'm kind of looking for. And then there's also just like the people to the website that, I can, if I put a post out and I can see the inbound for the services on my website, right? It's a very easy correlation. But I also don't think about it in the sense of, okay, that post worked, that should be the only thing I do, like that type of post. I actually like to have two sides of it. Like there's the ones that are gonna be super, all I do is LinkedIn ads, right? Super specific about LinkedIn ads. That's more like the sales-ish, but I don't do it as a sales post. It's more of like education. And there's our side. Some of my posts are very, not super broad. It's still about B2B, but they might just be like joking about something, calling out Teams versus Slack. It could be, talking about a platform I don't even manage at all. And so those are more broader. But there's still things I want to talk about in the B2B space that I think are important for just people understanding who I am and just my personality and just the content that's not even specific to the business, but I think there's still a community building aspect to it. And so I don't want to only go into just talking about LinkedIn ads, because even though it could be helpful for my business, I don't want to only talk about LinkedIn ads, to be honest, too. There's also that. Now I want to talk about the first part of like when I started, because to your point, like sometimes it's hard to see the results early on. When I started posting, like it was, and I've tried this many times where I'd start for a month, quit because I didn't see traction or whatever that metric was that I was looking for. And, I wish I didn't do that. But when I started to really be consistent, I was looking at, what are the DMs I'm getting? What are the comments, the engagement from the right people? My stuff's very niche, so I don't have to worry about being like super broad and people I don't want to talk to. But one of the things I do remember this very specifically, a month in of posting like 5 times a week, I got a DM from, I think it was like the ABM manager or something like that at Gong, which is obviously back then, like, and still now, Gong's a great company. Yep. And they asked me a specific question about what I was talking about, like a very specific LinkedIn ads question. And that was like, okay, this is really cool. Like that's interesting to me. Like this is a great company, great person I would love to talk to. Like that's really cool. They're asking me a question. So I didn't see business results from it, but I saw those kind of little tidbits of people asking me very specific questions from great companies. And so that kept me going. And as you keep going, then you start to see the flywheel effect. Then you see, like when I was at a company, then you see the how did you hear about us, Tim's videos, or this type of thing, or you hear it in sales calls. Then you can start to see the real traction, then you just won't want to stop. But early on, you're looking for certain things that would tell you're on the right track, whether it's comments, DMs, anything that is like a question or kudos or something like that to keep you going. That can be tough if you don't have those. I'm not gonna lie, like it's tough if you post every week, every day. It's tough to keep going, but if you continue to innovate and not innovate, but just see what works and what doesn't, I do think you'll see the results you want. It's just commitment to it for a long time, which I know can be tough, but if you keep doing it, it will work. It's just sometimes it takes 6 months.
Yeah, and LinkedIn is a slow platform. I keep telling that to the people. Yeah. You cannot go to the event and just post now you are going tomorrow and you expect something to happen at the event and people to see the post. It's not happening.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, unless you schedule those meetings and they already know that you are going to be there, so that's totally different conversation. But yeah, I had exactly kind of the same path. People even wrote me on the self-reported attribution form on the website, Nemanja jumps out of Pate on LinkedIn, just like you got from video. Or they're going specific. If I was, for example, talking for 2 weeks about specific go-to-market strategies that I've been doing, and adding some hypotheses and those kind of things, people told me like these hypotheses really resonate with me, as I don't see anybody in the industrial space do anything like that. For example, then I know, okay, that's exactly my words from the post. That's also something to think about. Because I think a lot of executives look at the platform just like, okay, we know that it's important to be there, but we need somebody to connect us the dots of how that turns into something that, into those results that we are looking at weekly or daily or however it goes, which are important for the business.
Yeah. It's
it's that conversation, right, about qualitative data versus quantitative data.
Yeah, to be honest, it stinks because I get it from their standpoint, right? You're the person's you're paying this person essentially, especially if it's an employee, to create content, and you want to see some sort of metrics that keep you funding it, essentially. But there's so many people that are lurking. There's so many people that are not ready to buy. They're not ready to become a lead. They're not ready to come in and get an intro call and put you as the how'd you hear about us. There's gonna be people that do that also, and then that you were the reason, but they put something else just for whatever reason. It could have been, they came through Google Ads or whatever, and that really stinks because you can't track it all, and you can't always see the early signs until it's too late, because then you start hearing about, I actually, 6 months later after you stopped it, I actually came because of this person's content. And then it's like, well, you already lost the traction. I have to start over. But no one wants to do that because you already shut it down just because you didn't see some sort of metrics in HubSpot. It really sucks. You almost need a CEO, an executive team that understands the importance and is okay with funding it for a certain amount of time. Obviously, look for early indicators. You should 100%. As the creator, you should take screenshots of comments from VP or CISO at this company that you'd love to talk to. Like, screenshot those and bring those up. But if they're only looking at the dashboard, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even as you mentioned, even if we include self-reported attribution, not all the times people will say exactly the right things. They will say the thing that it's on their mind at that moment, right? And maybe they've been nurtured for months, and then one thing was the crucial thing. They had the budget, they had the decision, the right person was there, and it came and converted, right? And it will say exactly the last thing that's on their mind, or maybe the first thing. I don't know, but it won't tell you everything.
Yeah, and I'm marketing to marketers, so I have good marketers are more likely to give you the information because they understand the struggle. And I have examples of where someone has literally, it was a $300K deal. They DM'd me on LinkedIn. They said, for what it's worth, here's how I became a customer. Your content, Slack community, and then I think it was like a LinkedIn ad. How did you hear about it? Said LinkedIn ads. And HubSpot said, I think it was like organic search or something like that. But I only know what it really was because they sent me that DM. But those examples are all around. Like, there's so many of those where you just look at the CRM, if you just looked at self-reported attribution, the sales call, it doesn't show what exactly happened. And it's hard, right? But those things happen all the time.
Yeah, I think that the solution to everything, if you look at from the marketer's perspective, is to know how the company is making money, where the money is coming from, to be as close as possible to that and to the customers. And that's basically the best you can do, and know the product inside and out.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me, do you see one or two or more things that kind of the companies are overlooking at the moment that might be a big thing and might hurt them in the long run if they don't pay attention to it?
Hurt them.
Like an easy question for the end.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this would hurt them. I think we mentioned this a little bit, the kind of B2B influencer marketing creators. I think it's often overlooked. I don't think it'll hurt them in the sense of, I think it's going to hurt your company if you don't do it, but I think it's a huge missed opportunity. I'm going to, I do know it's hard to understand and it's hard to justify sometimes. There's definitely a big missed opportunity, and there's some companies doing it and it's working very well. But, I think a lot of companies are overlooking it. I think another thing that hurts companies, but I don't have an answer to this because I understand both sides, is some of these growth goals are just crazy. Absolutely just ridiculous. Like, cut half the budget, but our revenue goals are 5x. Like, I've seen similar things to that. And I get it. Like, that's how you get to the Ubers. That's how you get these massive companies that grew through that kind of pressure. it's also hurting companies. I can tell you right now, it's really hurting companies, causing people to quit, causing people to not innovate, or just because they need to really focus on this silly goal that makes no sense and just kind of hurts everyone. I get both sides, and I don't have an answer, but I do think that is hurting companies a lot. And then attribution. I mean, I would love to be able to attribute everything. I would love to do that. Like, that make life so much easier if I can track everything. You can use tools, you can try all these things, but it hurts companies when they really try to narrow everything down to a certain dollar amount, because it's just not how people buy. It's just not.
Yeah, totally agree. Tim, thanks a lot. Tell me, where can people find you except obviously LinkedIn, right?
LinkedIn is the best place. Just type in Tim Davidson. You'll see me with the glasses on, blue background. But thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Yeah, LinkedIn's great. Best place for sure.
Perfect, guys. Now is the moment when I tell you to go back to the beginning of the episode. I asked him a lot of questions, maybe not connected to each other, and he said a lot of smart things. Go ahead, listen to them. If you feel like you need clarification on something, or you think Tim can help you, reach out to him. Tell him that you heard about him on the Funky Marketing podcast. That will be the first that somebody says that, but let's try it out. Also, feel free to subscribe, to follow. If you find this valuable, go ahead and share it. And as I always say, Tim, thanks again for being here, spending an hour with me talking about different marketing stuff. And guys, keep it funky, and see you in the next episode. Cheers.